Another international duty, another injury for Arsenal. Bukayo Saka came off in England's game against Greece in the 51st minute holding his hamstring, which not only adds to the injury list, but it also makes Arsenal get another injury in an international break when they don't seem to get many when they play their own game. Now, like I said before, I think there's a major frustration with the Odegaard one because it happened on international duty and not for an Arsenal game, which I do think is valid. These international duties are stupid and they should never have happened. However, it has always been like this. There's always been 3 international breaks at the start of the season very early on, which I've never agreed with, and it is just a money-making tool by these big corporations. Now, people are very upset about specifically the Nations League, which is not really to blame here. If we didn't have Nations League games, we would have had international friendlies because they've just been booked in to have them every year. And I get the point of having Nation League games over international friendlies, make it a little bit more competitive, but ultimately there should not be any more international breaks. Maybe have one early on in the year, but we do not need 3 because there's another one in a few weeks after this one as well. Now, the other day I did a video saying that Arsenal have been a lot smarter. Precautions were taken to take some players out of their international duty, but it's quite hard to do that with a lot of players, and I think Bukayo Saka is one of the key people of that. I think there's a lot of pressure on the English media, on only Bukayo Saka, but a lot of the English attackers, that I feel like put the pressure on him to continue to play for England. Obviously, he doesn't need to play these games, but I think he wants to show quite much loyalty to the English managers and want to show loyalty and consistency within the team, so he can basically lock down that right wing spot with people like Palmer and Foden and other players that could definitely play in that position. Now, like with the Odegaard injury, I was very negative, of course, and very pissed off when it happened, but I did see some positives with that happening, and eventually he wasn't going to be out for too long, which it does look like he's getting closer to coming back. And I am going to be the same with Bukayo Saka here, because I know he's Arsenal's best player in my opinion, I think by a country mile. I think he's one of the best wingers in the world, and it's quite clear this season how vital he has been to the team, especially with the absence of Odegaard. If we were to lose Saka and he's not be able to play a game when Odegaard isn't there, then that would make the right hand side very much a lot weaker, and even players that could come in there like Sterling or potentially Waneri, who could get more minutes, would be a big risk in big games such as Liverpool and Newcastle, which are coming up. However, I will say that Bukayo Saka's injury from first glance doesn't seem as bad as the Odegaard one. Now, of course, we need to wait to see what happens, but hamstring injuries are probably the most common injury in football, other than maybe ankle, which Odegaard got as well. But sometimes they can be just a tweak or something that you can't really do much about. Now, Saka is very good at identifying when he has a slight knock and being able to come off in them times. I remember the Lon injury last year where he came off with a slight injury, and although he didn't play at Man City that weekend, he was fit for the week after. And the benefit of this is that Arsenal do not play a game until next weekend. We've got considerably over a week now to rest him, where he can come back from England duty and he won't have to play their next game, where he can actually go back with the team and work with the rest of the players that stayed from international duty. This and a good rest for over a week could give him enough time, because we know how good Saka is at staying fit. Also, with the hamstrings, it does matter on the strain. If it's a strain 2, it could be about a month or even more. If it's a strain 1, it could be around 2 to 4 weeks, or if it's just a bit of tightness, maybe a bit of cramp in that area, which we know he has got a few times, it could be less than a week as well. Now, we've got Bournemouth away next week, which is definitely not an easy game, but I'd rather Saka miss that game than the Liverpool game after coming up, which hopefully he can be a little bit more fit for. There has also been videos of him walking out, and he does look like he has a minor discomfort, maybe not walking exactly how you expect him to walk, but he doesn't seem like he's limping, he hasn't got a crutch with him, and he's able to walk around by himself. It's not the same as the Odegaard situation, who was on crutches and had to be helped into the jet. Now, of course, by the time this video is released, you'll probably have a little bit more information than I do right now about the severity of his injury, but I do think from my point of view right now, it's not the worst it could be, and ultimately maybe Saka does need a little bit of a rest. Maybe having a week off where he can actually rest, or even maybe a week and a half off, might be important for the future of the club, just to get him in a bit more fitness and make sure he doesn't have too much game time. Now, I think Saka is a real problem for Arsenal because we considerably can't be playing this guy every game. We've said this problem many years now, and it's quite clear that he has to play because of just how good he is, and it makes sense to play your best player. The issue is every time England go abroad, they play him, and even games that don't matter, it's a friendly game, they never experiment on the right wing, it's just Saka every time. He's expected to run everywhere, pretty much like Rice is in the only midfielder that they had in this game, and I just think we need some more responsibility given to the manager. Lee Carsley's now in charge, it's not Gareth Southgate. We need to tell him that these people shouldn't be playing, and ultimately I know that's going to make Saka and Rice upset because they want to play for England, but I'm not going to lie, this is way more important. Playing playing for your country in a Nations League game is not as important as trying to win a league title for Arsenal right now. And when the European Championship and the World Cup happen, that's when you focus on international football. But I don't think we've really learned much from these games anyway, and ultimately I don't even really watch them because I think they're kind of pointless. But with the Saka thing, I don't think it is the thing we should all be worried about. It is a little bit of a worry because we don't want him to be out for any time at all, because obviously he's our best player. But if it is to be a couple of weeks or even less than a week and he's back for the Bournemouth game, at least he can get some rest now where he can actually doesn't have to play, because we all know he was going to start the England game next week because they just play him all the time. And also, I actually want to see England play without him for once, because I'm so sick of him playing for England and getting so much hate all the time, even when he plays well, and there's so much pressure on him all the time. When he plays for Arsenal, he's one of the best players in the world, and even when he plays for England, he is as well. But people will never be able to judge him correctly, and he gets so much stuff thrown at him for absolutely no reason when he does all his best every time. And hopefully this injury makes Arteta realise that he can't keep sending Saka there. I know I said it's going to be hard, but sometimes you just got to put your foot down. The third international break in November, if Saka is fit for that, which I probably expect him to be, is in a month's time, he cannot be allowed to play 90 minutes and 90 minutes in their two games. You can go to England, but just give him some rest. The amount of need that these teams, this country has on Saka to play every single game is ridiculous. The amount of talent that they have, they should be playing someone else. And it's the exact same with Declan Rice, which I understand a little bit more because the midfield's quite weak, but he shouldn't be able to play every game. It's a Nations League, for goodness sake. Just play someone else and experiment, because we can't afford these players to get injured, and we pay their wages at the end of the day. England do not pay these players anything to play for them, and when they do need them to be good in the massive games that actually matter, such as the World Cup and the European Championship, they're going to be knackered if they've played every single game in 60, 70 games in a season. So I just think a lot of better management needs to happen around some of these players, specifically Saka in particular. Now, it's quite ironic how I've been saying that it's not really a worry overall, and you can clearly see I'm very aggravated about the news, but it's not just really the Saka news. I'm just so sick of these international breaks all the time. I think I'm someone that doesn't even like the Carabao Cup, so I'm clearly not going to like the international break as well. And it's not only just a waste of time for everyone, it's just a waste of fitness. We're going to get so many injuries in football. By the time we get to the end of the year, there'll be teams playing their under-21s teams against each other for how much these guys play. And what is the point of losing these great individual footballers for consistent injuries in games that do not matter for your national team? And I get why players want to play for their national team more. I understand it's a lot of joy and a lot of loyalness to your country, but I do think there needs to be some awareness around these games overall. These are not the World Cup games. These aren't even qualifiers for that. And let's hope the news is good overall and he's not out for long, but hopefully he can get some rest now, and hopefully he'll be back for the Bournemouth game. If not, the Liverpool game is a must. And if not, we're going to need other players to step up in the meantime. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, mostly about the international break and the injury overall. What are your thoughts about it? Do you think it will be severe or not as bad? And overall, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. See you in the next one.